Anna Mercer Dunlop is credited with the inception of the Petersburg Area Art League in the year 1932. Locally known as the Dean of Artists, Anna was sought for her prowess as both painter and inspiration. In the year 1934, Anna Dunlop was commissioned by the Petersburg Home for Ladies Board of Directors for the purpose of creating 4 significant portraits to commemorate our founders and the milestone events which had thus far marked the journey of the then merely adolescent Petersburg Home for Ladies. Portraits were commissioned for Miss Mary Friend White, Miss Kate Stiles Knuckles, Commander Thomas DeForest Harris, and his wife, Mrs. Mammy Jones Butt Harris. The following is the story leading to the creation of these portraits and other significant paintings and photographs displayed at Petersburg Home for Ladies. There once was a rocking chair which sat upon the porch of 22 Franklin Street in Petersburg, Virginia. Calvin Coolidge was president and Samuel Zimmer was the mayor of Petersburg. Mary Friend White sat looking across the neighborhood. There were few cars in those days, and many folks passed by her porch, pausing to join her for mid-afternoon chats and a break from the heat. From these rocking chair conversations, an idea arose that to this day is arguably unmatched in the scope of its providential breadth and community impact. That idea, what would be known as Petersburg Home for Ladies. Mary Friend White was a true social networker, long before those terms were ever coined. Her rocking chair conversations led to more than simple afternoon banter. In a time when women had only recently earned the right to vote, she was an innovative problem solver with the cunning and charisma to not simply discuss a matter, but also rally the community to action. She served Petersburg Home for Ladies as founder and Board of Directors president for 30 years, though Miss Mary served as board president until her death on November 23, 1955. The first vice president, Mrs. Herbert Lightfoot, occupied the chair of president from December 1952 until her appointment as president following the passing of Miss Mary. This portrait of Mrs. Mary Friend White, affectionately known as Miss Mary, commissioned for painting by the Petersburg Home for Ladies Board of Directors in the year 1934 and painted by local artist Miss Anna Dunlop, hangs above the gathering area in our main entrance as a testament to her vision, wit, and charm. Mrs. Kate Stiles Knuckles, close friend and neighbor of Mary Friend White, spent many a summer morning enjoying rocking chair conversations. She donated the First Ladies' Home property located at 407 Harrison Street. This donation was made in honor and memory of her parents, Mildred Hester Jordan and Jacob Woodson Knuckles, and her in-laws, Mary Ellen Burnett and Waverly Ringgold Stiles. The Ladies' Home opened on July 1st, 1925. The First Ladies' Home housed 3 residents. This portrait of Kate Stiles Knuckles, commissioned for painting by the Petersburg Home for Ladies Board of Directors in the year 1934 and painted by local artist Miss Anna Dunlop, hangs above the fireplace in our rose room, commemorating her generosity. Mary White met Commander Harris during his later years. He was a widower and childless. It was during one of her rocking chair conversations that she convinced him to leave a portion of his estate to Petersburg Home for Ladies. In the year 1928, a bequest from the estate of Commander Thomas DeForest Harris and his wife Mammy Jones Butt Harris was gifted as an endowment to the Ladies' Home. Proceeds from these investments allowed the Ladies' Home to purchase 405 Harrison Street and expand their operation to include 10 residents and a live-in matron. While many struggled to endure the challenges of what became known as the Great Depression, Petersburg Home for Ladies was able to adeptly navigate these same challenges, largely due to this bequest. In the year 1936, the remaining investments from the Harris estate were used to purchase 36 West Fillmore Street. This 20-room home would become the second location of Petersburg Home for Ladies. These two portraits of Commander Thomas DeForest Harris and Mamie Jones Budd Harris, commissioned for painting by the Petersburg Home for Ladies Board of Directors in the year 1934 and painted by local artist Miss Anna Dunlop, keep a watchful eye over our reception area, honoring them for their gifts which sustained the Petersburg Home for Ladies through the Great Depression and ushered the ladies' home into a new era of expansion on Fillmore Street. It was the year 1944. The nation had been at war for a year, and even Petersburg Home for Ladies, now located at 36 West Fillmore Street, with a few residents still living in the 407 and 405 Harrison Street buildings, was experiencing nightly blackouts. Native Petersburger Miss Mary Lemoyne, through providential chance, met Mrs. James Gilliam, co-executrix of the estate of Mrs. Margaret Hodge Rivas de Rohan. This happenstance meeting during the lunch hour of a local tea room in Petersburg proved to be a milestone moment in the history of Petersburg Home for Ladies. Margaret Hodge Rivas de Rohan was a native of Amelia County with a beautiful estate that overlooked the campus of Sweetbriar College in Amherst County. She was married on 3 different occasions and dynamically loyal to her elderly mother. Upon her passing, Mrs. Hodge Rivas de Rohan willed her estate, only after her mother's death, to be entirely distributed to a home for elderly women. Mrs. James Gilliam was in search of such a place, discussing it with colleagues over lunch, when Miss Mary Lemoyne was bold enough to share the story of Petersburg Home for Ladies. Unannounced, Miss Gilliam and her associates visited the Fillmore Street campus of Petersburg Home for Ladies. So impressed were they that a unanimous recommendation was made to distribute the estate's wealth and contents to Petersburg Home for Ladies above all others. Later on, Mrs. Gilliam would become a board member of Petersburg Home for Ladies. From the estate donation, many items were initially sold, while others were retained until they were beyond reasonable repair. This full-length portrait of Mrs. Margaret Hodge Rivas de Rohan hangs on the wall in the Rose Room of Petersburg Home for Ladies. Presumably painted under the artist's surname Richard Fietri, the story goes that this work was originally created in France around the year 1910.